On the 20th of October 2019, in the always busy financial centre of Amsterdam the Zuidas, a 52-year-old woman steps into a black car. She could not have imagined what would happen next, not even her worst nightmare. The car drove off, and until this day, 3 years later, no one has seen her or heard of her ever again. But there's much more to the story. Pictures of a scarcely clothed female body with missing limbs were found on the cell phone of one of the biggest criminals in the world. What was his role in this story, and why did he have those pictures? Those are some of the questions we are left with, waiting to be unraveled. This is the story of Naima Jillal, the Dutch godmother of coke. Naima Jillal was born in Morocco on the 4th of January 1967. Later on, she would move to the Netherlands. It is unclear how she made her way into the underworld. There is very little information known about her because she has done quite a good job remaining under the radar. It was not until she was 47, in 2014, that her name would pop up. That is when she was first linked to selling cocaine on a large scale. She was aware that her name was becoming more well known in the Netherlands. She appeared in several investigations into international drug trafficking. She decided to move to the Spanish city of Marbella, a city well known because of its nice weather and beaches, but is also considered to be an international hub for the biggest criminals in Europe. In Marbella is where she would be nicknamed the Godmother of Coke. It was odd for an innocent-looking middle-aged woman to be so deep in the underworld. She was operating from her large mansion in Marbella. Drug gangs could buy room from her in sea containers with bananas or pineapples. This room, the Dutch word for cream, was a different name for kilos of cocaine. By facilitating this, Naima Jillal's business would grow rapidly, and she became a key player in the drug trafficking business. She spent her earnings on houses in Amsterdam and Spain, very expensive designer clothes, handbags, and jewellery. She ordered over 700,000 euros in watches at once, with 2 big jewellers in Amsterdam and Spain. Furthermore, she lived a life full of opulence, and would not take no for an answer from anyone. Her eagerness to fulfill her needs made her greedy. She tweaked her business model ever so slightly in such a way that she would be bound to make enemies. She started to oversell the room she had in these containers. She sold more kilos of coke than actually had been shipped. That way she earned more money, but simultaneously made people mad because they paid and did not get their cocaine. The consequence of her actions would be unfathomable. Would you have taken the same risk as her? Let us know in the comments. When 2 sea containers with pineapples from Costa Rica were on the brink of being discovered, disaster struck for Naima Jillal. Among the pineapples were kilos of cocaine. One container was carrying nearly 4,000 kilos of cocaine. The containers were in the port of Antwerp, one of the biggest ports in the world and a hub for drug trafficking. When word got out that 2 containers were scheduled to be scanned, Jillal and her accomplices got stressed. The intercepted messages from their encrypted phones went as follows: Aunt, also one of Jillal's nicknames. Both of the containers are scheduled for scanning. We're doomed, Aunt. We cannot pick them up. Another message reads, this is going to cost us so much money and long jail sentences, Aunt. Costa is going to be pissed off. Remember the name Costa. He will be vital for what is about to happen next. After a while, it was confirmed. The containers were scanned and the entire batch of coke was seized by police. The following days, the drug traffickers involved started to speculate on what had happened and who was responsible. Jillal knew she was in serious trouble and started doing some damage control. Costa was later revealed to be Roger P., a Dutch drug trafficker that is involved in the cocaine trade for a long while now. Jillal texted Costa, we just have to start over again and come up with a new story for now. Costa only texted back, right. Costa knew there was something fishy going on, and Jillal's clock started ticking. In March 2021, Belgian and Dutch police found supposed tracks that could be linked to Jillal. In a large warehouse in the port of Antwerp, a purse and some clothing were found. It was not just stuffed somewhere in a dark corner. No, the items were actually under a cement floor. Via several clues, the use of sniffer dogs and ground radar, it was determined that there was something underneath the floor. Because it was newly laid cement floor, the police had to excavate the floor to find the evidence. They found the purse and the woman's clothing. They had also hoped to find Naima Jillal herself, but unfortunately, there was no trace of her herself under the cement. What is interesting is that the warehouse that this happened in was the same warehouse where the big batch of cocaine was discovered that caused a lot of trouble for Jillal. Coincidence? You tell us. What would be discovered next is absolutely horrifying. Police heard through the grapevine that there had been pictures circulating in the underworld. Those pictures were quite graphic. The police did not see the pictures themselves yet, but they heard it was supposedly a woman with severe injuries taped to a chair. Another photo reportedly showed off cut-off limbs, and again, a heavily injured woman. Shocking and horrific photos, but the police had yet to see them with their own eyes. This is where a major plot twist happens. They finally get to see those exact photos because of the hacked encrypted messages database SkyECC. But what is even more interesting is the fact that these photos belonged to a phone used by none other than Ridwan Taghi, one of the biggest criminals ever in the Netherlands. After analysing the metadata of the pictures, it is clear the pictures were taken on the night of the 20th to the 21st of October, a short while after midnight. Do you still remember? Naima Jillal stepped in a black car on the 20th of October around 10:30 in the evening. That means she lived only a few more hours after being picked up, and those hours must have been horrific. Taghi's lawyer, Miss Inez Wesky, denies any allegation and says that the phone was not used by her client. Another person of interest in the disappearance of Naima Jillal is another Dutch criminal, Jos L., also known as Bolle Jos. Bolle Jos is a relatively young criminal. He was born in 1991. He quickly rose up the ranks and is arguably one of the biggest Dutch criminals at the moment. He is internationally wanted, and he still remains on the run. Word on the street is that he is a ruthless, cold-hearted person who does not shy away from bringing violence upon anyone in this way. Upon further inspection, police found out that Jos L. did business with Costa. Costa, in his turn, did business with Jillal. All evidence is pointing towards that Jos L. invested heavily in the large cocaine shipment that turned out to be busted by police in the port of Antwerp. Allegedly, when he asked Costa what happened and who was responsible, Costa told Jos that Jillal was responsible for the shipment. Jos L. demanded Jillal explain what had happened and demanded her to come and explain herself in person. That is exactly what she thought she would be doing when she stepped in that black car on the 20th of October 2019 in Amsterdam. But unfortunately for her, that explanation did not seem to be enough, and the only way to repay Jos was with her own life. Thus far, there is still no sign of Naima Jillal or her body. Family members have not been able to contact her, and no other information about her whereabouts have been found. There have been some people arrested, but not that has led to anything yet. The Dutch police have put out a reward of €10,000 for the person who leads them to Jillal, but nothing thus far. It is not looking like she will be found or heard of ever again. She rose fast, but her downfall might have been even faster. Jillal overplayed her hand and had to pay the price with her life. Costa said in court that he had nothing to do with the murder. Jos L. is still on the run, but his lawyer said that her client did not have anything to do with the disappearance of Naima Jillal. Taghi's lawyer also said that her client did not have anything to do with it either. He is unsure why he had those photos on his phone. Do you think we will ever hear from her ever again? Let us know in the comments.